I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening to the Entrepreneurial Assistance Center at Suffolk County Community College MWBE webinar series. This is actually part 2 of the series, the second webinar in the series. We do have a few more to go, but I'll jump into that later on towards the end of the presentation. But tonight we're going to do introduction into MWBE certification, presented by myself, Kenya Harvey. I am the project coordinator and MWBE consultant for the center. In addition to me, I do have staff members on this webinar. Jay, he's my technical person who will be operating the Facebook Live for me and monitoring the chat, as well as Farah Charles. She is also the office support here who will be monitoring the chat. So I'm just going to jump right into the presentation. So tonight we're going to talk about MWBE, the background, a little bit about Article 15A of the executive law and the disparity study that was conducted. Also talk about the MWBE eligibility requirements, what you do when you apply for the certification and the benefits of certification. And then lastly, we'll jump into questions. So the study is a requirement of Article 15A. This disparity study was conducted in 2016, which found statistical evidence of underutilization of MWBEs in state contracting, in contracted and prime and subcontracting participation. The findings were that for primes, there was a 32.54% disparity, and in non-construction, there was a 13.84%. I'm sorry, for primes, 32.54%, and in non-construction, and 13.84% in construction-related activities. The subcontract participation was high at around 28.84%. And in construction, it was low around 22.96% in non-construction services. Regardless, the disparities are bigger for MWBE's prime contractors providing construction-related services, such as architects and engineers. The study concluded that it recommended the state to continue Governor Cuomo's utilization of the 30% goal for MWBE and to enhance efforts to engage and support MWBE contractors in New York State. So the disparity findings can be found here at this link. And I just wanted to make you aware that there is going to be another study done in 2023. So I'll leave it up for a little bit in case some of you want to jot down this link. So a little bit about Article 15A. It was signed into law on July 19, 1998. It created the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development Department. Its goal is to promote employment and business opportunities on state contracting for minorities and women. Under this law, the New York State agencies are charged with establishing employment and business participation goals for minorities and women. There are some amendments to this article. On July 15, 2018, the governor signed a new law which extended the MWBE program to 2024. And the personal net worth increased to 15 million with the 1.3 million threshold to complete the certification application. The recertification period also changed from 3 years to 5 years. A few amendments, so looking for a few other changes as well. I know the application is going up and down with removing certain requirements or documents from this application, but it's all, a work in progress. So the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, their mission is to promote equality of economic opportunities for MWBEs and to eliminate barriers to their participation in the contracting arena in New York State. Their key objectives are to encourage and assist state agencies to award a fair share of contracts to MWBEs. Also review the applications by the businesses seeking certification and to maintain the directory for certified MWBEs. They are also charged with to promote the business development of MWBEs through education and outreach to New York State agencies, as well as other MWBEs. Types of certifications when you apply for MWBE certification. So you have the MBE certification, which is only for minority business owners. So if you're a minority and applying for a minority and a male applying for certification, your status would be an MBE. WBE certification are for women business owners. So if you are a non-minority and a woman, you would apply for WBE certification. MWBE certification, you would need to be a minority and a woman business owner in order to apply for that status. Some of the New York State MWBE eligibility requirements. So under Article 15A of the Executive Law, any for-profit firm that is at least 50%, 51% owned, operated, and controlled by citizens or permanent resident aliens who are either woman or minority is eligible for certification. List of minority groups who are eligible. So we have Black persons having origins from any of the Black African racial groups. We have Hispanic persons of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Central or South American descent, or either Native American or Latin American origin, regardless of race. We also have Asian Pacific persons having origins from the Far East, Southeast Asia, or Pacific Islands. Also, Asian Indian subcontinent persons having origins from the Indian subcontinent. Native American persons having origins in any of the original peoples of North America. Okay, so now eligibility continued. So for sole proprietorships, you will need your assumed name certificate from the county clerk's office and the most recent year of business taxes. For partnerships and LLCs, you will need your assumed name certificate from the county clerk's office, your operating or partnership agreement, the IRS Form 1065 with your Schedule K tax form. You will submit, when submitting your taxes, you need to submit the complete packet. Right? We don't remove the first 4 pages or a few pages from it and upload it. They want to see the complete tax return. Okay, corporation, shareholders agreements, and corporate bylaws. The IRS Form 1120 and 1125A. You have the IRS W-2 forms, the IRS Form 1065 with the Schedule K form, tax form. So complete packet. Okay. Mandatory required documents continued. So proof of citizenship and gender, your birth records, U.S. passports, military records, green cards, business documents, including the NYS 45 forms and W-3. Any loans and credit agreements, leases, supply agreements as well. Partnerships and LLCs, again, we talked about having the assumed name certificate from the county clerk, as well as the operating and partnership agreement there. Your professional background, right? You need your resume, your personal resume. I see a lot of resumes that come in geared towards, for business, which is fine, but a resume would consist of the resume that you add on for the list of employments, your skill sets, certifications, school education would be on your resume. So that includes professional licensure, licenses, permits, certifications. So let's jump into where you will go to complete this application. This is the New York State contract system. This is the image of the landing page for this site. On this site, if you can see where it says, to my left, certify or recertify with New York. You would click on that button, this tab here, and choose option 1 to create a profile. You will need to create a profile in order to create your username and password so that you're able to get in and out of the system. to complete the application. You will have a certain amount of time, 90 days, to complete this application once you start it, once you open it. And the website address would be www.ny.newnycontracts.com. So, getting started, completing a vendor profile or public profile, right? So why is a vendor profile important? Because the vendor profile acts as an electronic business card for your company. It's accessible to primes and other firms, and state agencies or authorities. It may lead to potential business opportunities. So you want to be sure to keep your business information up to date on this site. Any business can have a vendor profile regardless of their certification status. So whether you're self-identifying as an MWBE, you sure enough can create a profile here on this site. The profile is not the same as the certification application. So once you create the profile, you do need to then go ahead and open up the application for certification. So the certification application process. So in this process, there's a few things that stick out and are important to share, right? Know your supporting documents. Know what the documents are, and gather all the documents before starting the application if you can. That'll avoid delays. Again, I said you have about 90 days to complete this application, but if you do need more time, you are able to extend. Another thing a must know is your NAICS codes. So off the hand, you may not know what your NAICS codes are, but that's okay because in this application, there is a NAICS code lookup where you're able to search your activity and locate a code to add to the application. Also, in this application, when you open the application, it's going to ask you to choose whether you want to do an electronic upload or you want to fax or mail in the documents. I strongly advise choosing the electronic upload because everything is more efficient and convenient for the analyst to grab and pull and review with all the documents in one place, as opposed to looking at the application and then going to search for the supporting documents that were either faxed or mailed or got lost in either mode. Okay, so always choose electronic, it's more efficient. Also, another must know is to monitor the date of deletion. So once you open the date, I said you have 90 days to complete it. Now, on that last day, if you don't extend this application, it will be deleted. And then you can't retrieve that application back. You would have to start all over again. So I say monitor that date, write it down, put it in the calendar for you to go in if you need more time to extend, so that it'll keep everything in place. Now, in this department, the new process for reviewing applications has changed. They have a new decentralized process, which includes 4 phases. So in the first phase, once your application is submitted, it goes into the application intake. So they will receive the application and review it to see if you have all the documentation, if the application is good enough to go on for review. Phase 2, they verify the documents that's in the application, and any documents that are not there and may be needed, they will request it if they need more information. Phase 3 is the compliance team, so your NAICS codes are assigned here. So you want to choose NAICS codes that you are currently performing activities for. So if you're thinking about doing an activity but haven't yet had a client or got paid for that service yet, I would not include it on the application. I would wait until you start doing the activity and receiving payments, and then you can always upload it later on to update the profile here. Phase 4 is when you will get the decision on your application. So if everything, like knowing your supporting documents, so if all these documents are in there, your NAICS codes are in there, you're doing it electronically, it's complete, it will not delay the process, and even though each application is really case by case, it really depends on the application, depending on how long it's going to take for the review to be, right? Because it may be a request for more information in one of the phases, So let's just make sure when we complete the application that everything's there, so that it goes through smooth sailing through each phase. So the mandatory supporting documents in this application. So there's a few, right? Once you open the application, you will see a button to download these forms here on the screen. Now, I did notice that the ethnicity clause here is only in the MBE application. So if you are MWBE, this clause you will need to upload in that application as well. It's not there for you to download and notarize, but you will need to get the form and upload it into this application. I'm not sure, but I will see if I can bring that up to someone that application doesn't have this form in it. But so for the most part, the certification application affidavit, you will get notarized. The attachment A is your personal net worth. So you will notarize what your net worth is and upload it. The attachment B is not required if your net worth does not exceed the 1.3 million threshold. But I do advise the clients that if they're not sure what their personal net worth is, use the worksheet to help calculate it. And again, we talked about the ethnicity clause. So this is, you are certifying on this form, your background that you're claiming to be your, if you know, which background are you coming from, whether it be Black, Asian, Hispanic, you would initial and then certify next to that input, okay? So the NAICS codes, we talked a little about them earlier. So in case you're not sure what the NAICS codes are, the NAICS codes are the North American Industry Classification System. It is the standard used by federal and state agencies in classifying businesses, establishments, and the goods and services that they provide. The code selected must represent current business activities performed. So like I said, nothing that you're planning to do, nothing that you haven't done yet should be chose, right? Codes for activities not yet performed will not be approved, so you won't get the code. But again, you know, you can always update it later in the application. Write a statement. So every question in the application must be answered. If not, you won't be able to go on or sign and submit this application. So in that event, you will need to get it or prepare it if you can. If you cannot, you will write an explanation on your letterhead, on the company letterhead, as to why you're not able to provide that document or provide that information when requested. Sources of capitalization, a big. You must provide documented proof of sources of capitalizations and investments in this application. You can use the following startup investments as a source. So major equipment, if you had to buy equipment, major equipment with funds used from your personal accounts, you sure enough can use that as a source. Any vehicles or trucks purchased from personal accounts or sources should surely be used as source as capitalization. Business registration fees. So a lot of applicants don't really use as much, but it is a source, especially if you use your personal funds to start the corporation or to file for the business with the county clerk's office. Those fees would be sources of capitalization. Real estate, you have to purchase land or office space, and you use that with your funding, your money to do so. It's definitely your source of capitalization. Any inventory, and expertise. Now, expertise in the industry, again, based on your resume, this should have all that information on there. You know, you don't need to put a dollar amount on your expertise, but if you do, just surely provide how you came up with that amount. Okay. The importance of a business description. So in the application, you will be asked to create a business description, a description of the services you provide, products or services you provide. So I often see in this example here, you know, it says to be very detailed, and I say the same. So I provide environmental consulting services. Okay, You provide environmental consulting services. What does that involve? It just leaves that question mark, right? So being very detailed eliminates all the questions that may still be around after letting the buyer know about your services. Our firm specializes in providing terrestrial and ecological and environmental services. Our primary areas of expertise include flora and fauna surveys, biological inventories, wetland delineations, rare species surveys, and habitat suitability assessments, vernal pool surveys, invasive species identification and mapping, habitat community evaluations and mapping, bird surveys by sight and sound, species monitoring using unmanned aircraft, i.e. drone. I would say there's nothing left out here. I mean, in some of these services, what do they do, right? What are they? Only someone who is familiar with this industry would know what all of these descriptions are, right? But that's why you want to be detailed as possible. So if I was a buyer and I'm looking for someone, let's say, who does bird surveys by sight and sound, I don't know that from that first example, I provide environmental consulting services. That would make the buyer want to inquire more, right? Either reach out or send you an email to tell you to provide more information about the product or services that you provide to see if it's a fit, a good match. But definitely in this spot, in addition to creating a very detailed description, this description will be put on the database. So I say this description, think about it as a marketing picture, for a buyer. Go that way about it, because exactly that's what they're going to see when they look you up in the directory, this detailed description. Fast track applications. So, New York State-based firms certified by either the County of Erie and City of Buffalo Joint Certification Committee, New York City Department of Small Business Services, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, Inc., Women's President's Education Organization, certified as a DBE, disadvantaged business entity with any federally funded transportation agency in the U.S., certified as a federal 8A disadvantaged business with the U.S. Small Business Administration, can apply for fast track. The certifications must be current and have more than 3 months remaining before it expires to be eligible to complete a fast track application. Business eligibility waiver. So there is a waiver, right? So there is an eligibility waiver of 1 year. So the business has to be in business for at least a year in order to apply. There is a waiver that will waive that eligibility, right? So this waiver must be requested in writing. The time for review is not very long. It's usually about a week or two. It's decided on really quickly, but it's decided on case by case. So there is supporting documentation that you would have to provide. I would say reach out to the MWBE certification to find out or get that form that gives you instruction on how to apply for this waiver. They can be reached at the MWBE certification at esd.ny.gov, or you can give them a call at 212-803-2414. So this application, the New York State MWBE certification application, I call the one-stop shop. I call it the one-stop shop because you can apply for 3 different certificate. You can apply for certification with 3 different agencies in this one application. So instead of submitting all these documents for certification for these 3 agencies, they pull it from the one application, and it saves you a whole lot of hassle in getting the documents, uploading documents in with all 3 agencies. So in this application, you can apply for certification with New York City Small Business Services. There is an addendum in the application that you will complete, but on the addendum, actually all 3 addendums, they would want you to create a vendor profile on their sites, and they do have the web addresses where you would go to do so. But on the New York City one, I'm more familiar with this one. There is an FMS vendor number, which you would locate it in or apply for it in the payee information portal. That's New York City's payee information portal. And then once you apply for it, you will get it as soon as you apply for it. So like takes about maybe 20 to 30 minutes to complete online. Once you're done, you will get your vendor number. With that vendor number, you will complete it and add it to the top of page 3. So on that, there's a question, do you have a FMS vendor number? You want to say yes, right? Because not having that, again, that will hold up the application as well in that process. The same for Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. There's also addendum in there. You don't have to, you do, in this application, this is the one that you will need to get notarized, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Okay, now the County of Erie and City of Buffalo Joint Certification Committee has an addendum in there as well. But depending on the services you provide and how you provide it, if you're here on the island and able to go to Erie or Buffalo to perform the work there, by means, well, go after the certification, complete the addendum, and get certified there. But if you're not really able to do that, I would say don't apply for it at this time until you are able to. Documents that are no longer requested, but they still can be considered during the initial evaluation. So your personal tax this past a year. So this was a big plus, kudos, right? Because all those taxes you had to gather the past 3 years. So it was 19, 20, 21. And now it's only 1 year, the most recent year, which will be 21. So that's a big help, right? So not all that paperwork that you have to look and upload. The current year business financial statement, so your profit and loss and balance sheet, they used to ask for in the initial application, but it can be asked for later. So if your taxes aren't, you didn't do your taxes, or for any other reason, an analyst would ask for that. But just keep in mind they will if need be. So just make sure, keep it available. If you don't have them, let's try to get them ready, especially when you're applying for the certification, to have them ready for if requested. Documented proof of sources of capitalization and investment. So to cancel check, both sides. So in that first initial application, you would need to provide the proof with the payment made for that, right? So if you bought a vehicle, you would need to see the check or how it was paid out of your personal account, maybe your bank statement showing that amount coming out, the grantor page. It was a whole lot of information that'll be asked for in regards to funding or purchasing that vehicle or major equipment. Previous MWBE denials and or decertifications. So that application did ask for that as well. So if you applied for certification previously and was denied, you would have to wait about, I believe 2 years before you could reapply. And that application did ask for that denial to be uploaded if you were denied. So now it's not asking for that. Copies of issued stock certificates was a big thing in the initial application. But now that's not asked for, but the analyst, right, when it's in review, could still ask for your stock certificate. So if you're a corporation and you're one owner, the only owner in that corporation, you should have stock certificate number 1 assigned to you if you're assigning all the shares to you, right? So maybe you want to have a talk with your accountant to figure out the best way to set that up if you are in a corporation structure. Your capability statement, another document that you will need in the procurement process, in which I call the business resume. The business resume provides a brief synopsis of your business background and capabilities that is given to the New York City agencies that you want to do business with. On this capability statement, it's a resume. So I call it it's a resume for your business. So you want to use your business logo. You want to use brief and highlight, the company's core competencies, past performances, differentiators, and company data. And I do go into the capability statement at the last webinar that we have, and that'll be on December 15th. If you would like to sign up for that, please reach out and we'll get you the link, or if you have the link, be sure to register. How to utilize the capability statement to secure opportunities. So first, what you do, you would identify the opportunity. So identify the agency or authority that you want to work with. Prepare your capability statement targeted to that agency. So your main focus in there is what they need, right? You want to be there to, fulfill that need that they're, looking for or in need of. You want to connect with them and network with them and get them to know you and know what services you provide. So identify the opportunity. What do they need? Prepare your capability statement targeted to that need, and then connect with them. The benefits of certification. So when you become certified, you will be eligible for MWBE procurement and contracting opportunities with New York State. The MWBEs receive access to lending and bonding programs. So there is funding out there for certified MWBEs. If you get a contract and need to cover payroll or overhead expenses, definitely reach out to the center. We do have some resources for funding to get you through that contract. You also get listed on the New York State MWBE directory with Empire State Development. So again, we talked about having a detailed description, sort of like a marketing description in this application, so that when these buyers see it on their website, the directory, they'll get a detailed gist of what it is that you do. Now, again, on this directory, there's state agencies and authorities that access it, prime contractors that access it. We have other vendors, municipalities, subcontractors, and the private sector who access this database. So it's widely accessed. So it's, you're going to be seen, right? So I know I went through the first half kind of quickly, but I'm going to take a moment to, take any questions you may have. Regarding what I've presented so far. I do have a question here. Do you need assumed name from county if you have it with the state? No, if you are registered, wherever you're registered. So if you are a sole proprietorship and you're registered with the county, like, whether Nassau or Suffolk, wherever you're registered, yes, you need that. But if you are a corporation or LLC and you're registered with the Department of State, you will need that information. Certificate of incorporation, articles of incorporation, and so forth. Do I have any other questions? I'll give you a moment to think about them. Okay, while we wait on the questions, and feel free to unmute yourselves if you feel comfortable talking or on the mic. So you're more than welcome to. Where do you go for DBE? So DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, usually Department of Transportation has a DBE program. And fortunately, there is a DBE event that's actually starting tomorrow. It's going to be at the MTA, with MTA, and it's going to be located in New York City. I do have the information to register for this event. It's from 9 to 5 tomorrow. So they go through you meet the staff with MTA. They talk about the opportunities for DBE with them. It looks like a good event. So if that's something you want from me, just let me know and I will email it to you. I'll have the EAP Center email up at the end of the presentation. So feel free to reach out or talk to the chat. Let me know, give me the information, and I'll send it to you tonight because it's in the morning at 9. So definitely. So I do want to talk about, while we're still waiting on questions to come in, our upcoming webinar series. I talked about the capability statement and networking for procurement that we're going to have on December 15th. It's a great webinar, especially if you're certified and not sure what to do with your certification. The next step would be to create your capability statement. And I urge you to sit in on that one so you'll get an example of what one looks like and what goes in it. So on December 1st, we'll have the New York State MWBE certification application process. It's a parted document, so I'll go over the process and the application process, the sections of the application and the document. So you'll see visuals of those documents we discussed earlier in the presentation. On December 8th, we're going to have Chris McCann here from the New York State Contract Reporter. She is great and she is very helpful. So, because she provides 101, right? 101 meetings to help you navigate the New York State Contract Reporter. So again, if you want to get familiar with that site and or you're certified and looking for opportunities, definitely join us in this webinar. Because in this webinar, maybe she could help you locate some keywords to locating contracts or opportunities for your business. I just want to let you know as well that we also have an MWBE webinar series in Spanish, which is held on Tuesdays at 7. So if you know someone that may benefit from these presentations in the community, surely feel free to share this information with them. Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any other questions?
Yes. Did you want me to unmute?
No, you can unmute, yes.
Oh, someone asked me to unmute.
In case you had.
No. I have a baby here. I would have loved to, but thank you for the information that you have given. You've answered my question, so I appreciate it. And I'll be setting up with you sometime soon.
Yes, do so. And the DBE is tomorrow. I'm hoping, anyone interested in that could make it there. I know it's an all-day event, but it seems like a great event. A lot of information, a lot of connections, networking, and opportunities there for DBE. So look into that, and then you can start that application as well when you're ready.
I was a little confused. Everyone is a little quiet. I speak a lot. So when you say Department of Transportation, so I'm an accountant, and I'm not saying there's no correlation, but I think of the Department of Transportation as driving or construction, things of that perspective. But would that benefit like me as an accountant, someone else? Like what kind of professions would that fit into for the DBE?
So, it can be any type of need of service. And like I said, not only agencies, like that agency would utilize your service, you also have other MWBEs, you have prime contractors, subcontractors. So it could be for whatever services that they need you for. They could just need an accountant to work the numbers on their contract. Right? Maybe they have multiple contracts. I've had a certified MWBE ask me for a certified accountant. So it really just depends on the need.
Thank you.
Let me just check and see if there are any more questions. So I'm going to get that information out to you who requested that information for the MTA. And since there's no other questions here in the chat or on the Q&A, Jay, is there anything on Facebook?
Not yet.
Okay. So I do want to thank you all for coming out or coming on with me tonight to learn about the certification and the application with New York State. Please join us in the next webinars. That'll be on the 1st, the 8th, and the 15th. Okay, and if you need registration links for those webinars as well, please reach out. I had the information up on the screen. If you need me to share it again, I'm just going to put it up so that you can see it. Let's get to the there. This is the email address here, telephone number. So in case you need further assistance registering for the webinars or more information about upcoming webinars, feel free to reach out. I want to thank everyone for coming on tonight, and I wish you all a great evening.
You too, and thank you.
You're welcome.